Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is Jackie Clayton, and today we are looking at the wrap up of 12 days of sourcing. I'm really glad you're here, and I'm also happy to have my cohort, Jake. You want to pop in and say hello to the people? I'm testing him to make
I'm
sure
here
that he's
too.
paying
Yep, I'm
attention.
here. Hello, everyone. Good to be with you, Jackie.
Perfect. I'm really glad we are going to have a great day today. We're going to be sharing some of the things that we talked about in 12 days of sourcing. So, thank you to everyone who is here attending. Make sure you have your questions and that you know the things that you're going to want to ask as we move forward. Here is the crew of people that are here. Of course, there's me, but we have everyone else, and we want to make sure that you see what they had to offer. They're going to be going through some of the information that they shared with you, some of the things that they had, but always feel free to ask additional questions if you have them in general about recruiting or what's going on within the world. Just feel free to ask those questions. We're going to give everybody about 5 minutes, so it's going to be really kind of fast and furious. We do also want to thank our sponsors, all of those listed there down below. I always say Xor, and I'm always afraid I'm saying it wrong. Olio, of course, Seek Out, well, wink, wink to Seek Out, and Willow. Thank you all for your sponsors, for the sponsorship and sponsors through 12 days. We appreciate you for doing that, and we appreciate your sponsorship here. So just to let you know, everybody is in listen only mode. You can hear us, but we can't hear you. But there is that sidebar where you can ask your questions there. You're going to be receiving recordings of the full 12 days experience. It's going to be within 5 days. So make sure you check your inbox. But we still want to make sure that you share the information out using the hashtag #OurDaily to share some of the fun nuggets that you hear today, as well as some of those questions and answers that you receive. So let's make sure it's interactive. Feel free to put those questions in there so we get started. Oh, and look, it's me. I'm going first. Hi. Again, my name is Jackie Clayton. I am actually the DEI strategist over at Seek Out, and I was part of the 12 days. What I shared with 12 days was really going over how to find about making lists, particularly for salespeople. And I just put a simple Boolean string, but I think you can find it. I think some of you found it really handy. What I've noticed is when you go online and you have these different searches, this is the search here. When you put it into Google, you were able to find registrants. Now, one of the things that I did use was salespeople in particular, because what happens at these various conferences is that who attends, right? We have the people that are the practitioners, but there's always a list of people that are attending that are account managers, people who sell software at for the various companies or the different wares that are going on within the particular conference. So this search is a simple Google search, but there are some things that are really important. Starting at the very beginning, you see the EXT. Now that EXT part is for extension. We want to make sure that the extension has the XLS or XLSX, meaning we're looking to see that we have used an Excel spreadsheet. Now, the other part to get it, I had to add the and operator, but we also wanted to put roster, attendee, member, or registrants. There are some other things that you might think of that would show us that are the people that are going to those places. Maybe they're called something else at a very particular conference, but these are very common words that are there. I also put in San Francisco, and in this instance, it was account manager. Now, the other part that was important was adding gmail.com. By adding gmail.com, I knew that I was getting the information, but I was also getting their personal information. Personally, I like to reach out. I don't want to get anybody in trouble if I'm recruiting salespeople. I don't want to email them at work. And so I added the gmail.com to see if there is that personal information that I can share with. And then from there, you would just click on this list so that you can download that Excel spreadsheet to get the information. It's pretty basic. Also, think about when you're here, I have San Francisco, you'll have to add the location that makes the most sense for you. Maybe it's Dallas, or make sure you change that city when you saw the example. And also, I just use account manager, but as you know, it could be account executive or sales executive. But this is a really great search that can help you make that list. And again, specifically, I use it for salespeople because we know that that is a title that is always going to be at those conferences, and the registrants are going to have those lists of active vendors and the people that are attached to them. So that's me getting started. That's really kind of getting into my 5 minutes. So I do want to know if there are any additional questions in regards to this particular search. I know it was kind of cut and dry. I hope you were able to see the article. If not, go take a peek back at it. It was called Making a List and Checking It Twice Using Attendee Lists to Source Top Salespeople. So that being said, let me ask, are there any in particular questions that I can help answer today in regards to how you can find those salespeople? Anyone?
Hey,
Anyone?
Jackie. Hey, while we
Yes.
wait for questions to come in, we also have a poll that we should launch at this time. Are you ready?
Oh, perfect. Yes.
So, Willow, one of our sponsors, is offering a lifetime free forever video interviewing account with 25 free interviews each month from Willow. If you would like us to sign you up for that, just let us know here and we'll send it your way.
Thank you so much for launching that poll. I appreciate it. And yes, this is great. So you're going to get a free forever video interviewing account by answering that poll. That being said, again, make sure if you do have any additional questions that you can put those there in the chat box. Right now, the
Yes.
poll is going to be going now, and I think it's going to be closing up shortly. So make sure that you click one of those answers so that you can get that offer from Willow.
We'll let that go for about 10 more seconds, but we do have some questions. Are you ready?
I am.
Which are domains we can site search?
Got it. So really, you can do any of them. There are some that, of course, I say any of them, meaning they're public information. You're not having to go past a sign up where there would be a paid line or registration. But you can do most of the standard sites that you're looking for. I like that version better than going into the various sites and using their search. So what I mean by that is, even if I'm looking for like Twitter, and maybe I'm looking for a headshot, or maybe I'm looking for a particular hashtag, I like to do those site searches in Google. So the ones where you don't have to cross the pay barrier should be available in that Google search.
Jackie, can I add something to that?
Absolutely.
Site searches in Google, you can only do one site at a time. So cite LinkedIn or cite Twitter. But if you need to do site searches on more than one simultaneously, Bing supports the ability to site search with an or statement, so you can do multiple sites at the same time.
Ooh, I love that. I didn't know that. See, we all learned something new today.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jackie. We do have one more question, but it is in regards to just the string. If you're able to provide us with that string, I'll paste it into the chat. I know you're busy talking, but whenever we get started with the next presentation, if you're able to send me that string, I'll paste it into the chat. The doing
Sure.
file type extension using site. Okay, one more question came in from the same person who asked about the search site. I am referring to doing file type extension using site colon.
Oh, like you can do Excel, or you can look at a Word doc, you could use a PDF, you could look at a PowerPoint presentation. So think about the file types of your standard attachments and documents, things that you would use from that respect. That's kind of the easiest way of putting that together. But I will add that list as well with the search string so that you have that information so that you can kind of see the different file types that you're able to search. Well, if there aren't any additional questions right now, are there actually? Otherwise, I'll move in. We can invite some additional friends with us.
One last question is, where can you search multiple sites?
Bing. utilizing the or statement.
Perfect. So Katrina should be coming in any moment.
Ooh, perfect. I love that. Oh, look. Hi.
Hello.
I'm glad that you're here.
I thought
There you
Vanessa
are.
was next. I was like, hang on, I'm after Vanessa. Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to hand it over to you to share a little bit more about what you talked about. I guess I can see your screen and we can just kind of
I'm
banter
not
back
showing
and
my
forth.
screen.
But
I'm
tell
not
us
showing.
more about what you were discussing in 12 days.
I talked about chapter 2 of the Robot Proof Recruiter, where I was talking about, are you a sourcer or a recruiter worth replying to, worth talking to? Do you look worthy of somebody's time? And by that, I was quite motivated to do that because obviously we're in this little annoying pandemic. In case you hadn't noticed, many recruiters and sources ended up without work. And if you went and looked at their LinkedIn profiles, for example, they weren't filled out. There was no information. And in exactly the same way as if I'm recruiting, I'm looking at Jackie's profile, I'm looking for information. Do I want to talk to her? Does she show me that she's knowledgeable? People are looking at you guys. So I send Jackie a message. Jackie's like, who's Katrina Collier? Ugh. She might stick my name in Google, an unusual name like mine. I'm going to rank quite high. Grade 11, I would like to capture this computer screen. Okay, well, why does it want to capture my screen?
Oh, I don't know if it wants to
Oh,
capture your
I
screen.
d-
Only if you want to share.
Dinner just in case.
I'd have to go into open system preferences and everything.
I
Can
think
I
you're
just
good.
deny? Can I just deny? And so she Googles me and she's like looking. And now, if you have an unusual name like mine, you're going to rank really high on Google, and particularly LinkedIn is going to rank really high, even though its user base is quite inactive. So, have you got a public photo? So many people have a photo, but it's not actually public. Only the first level connections can see it. Does your photo repel people? Just a thought.
It's personal.
It's not about whether you're pretty or not. It's about are you approachable. So if you've read the book, which you really should, because I donated my royalties to Hope for Justice charity, so please. Plus, it's full of 74 of your peers. But I put in there Mark Lundgren, and Mark had this photo where he looked angry. I said to him, why are you using this photo? And he said, oh, I don't know. He just thrown up some rubbish. It was like a shot, the ones you take off your computer. And we put it through a site called Photo Feeler, and sure enough, loads of people thought that he didn't look very professional, and changed it to another one, and suddenly he was more influential and more somebody that they trust to talk to. So I talk about that in the article and how important it is to look approachable, but it's also the information you put. Are you showing how you are going to take care of somebody? Now, I've come in, I came into 2020, but it's been delayed until this year, on a real mission to get recruiters to really understand that we play with people's lives. We take people from one job and we put them in another. And if we get that wrong, especially in a pandemic, especially in this economy, we could really monumentally screw them up. They could end up homeless. It's that serious. So do you show that you're trustworthy? Do you show that you are somebody that could be responsible for somebody's career? And I feel that we need to be making sure that we're showing that. We've got recommendations from people that we've recruited. We're showing that we know our marketplace. We understand the kind of people we're recruiting and all that sort of stuff. And I think too often we gloss over all of that because people are looking at us before they will reply and talk to us. So that's what I was talking about. I
have a question for you about that. Just something that I know we're opening it up to the audience, of course. Put your questions in the chat box, but I had a question for you. Now, when you're talking about images and people have various images, do you recommend that they utilize it in their signature, or is it just something that, like, should you use it in other places besides your standard places that make you more approachable?
What do you mean?
I mean, like, sometimes people put it in their signature page. Maybe they have,
I like on their email. So when they send
their email.
Yeah, why not? If you think it makes you look more approachable. I think that's quite an American thing to do. It's not done here in Europe, hardly at all, but you could do if you're really comfortable with that. I don't personally, but I guess you could. But I think it's making sure whatever photo you use, so for all the sites that you use for recruitment, that you use that. So for example, if you're using Twitter from a recruitment engagement point of view, as well as LinkedIn, use the same photo so people can find you quite easily. Actually, for sites like that, fill out your bios. If you're using Instagram for recruitment, fill out your bio, make people understand what you're about. So just make it look so you're approachable. It's just, there's Jackie. That's what, she looks kind. I want to talk to her. It's not a pretty contest. And I just check the angle of your photos, just straight on like a regular photo. But try Photo Feeler if you want to really know how your photo comes across. Has anyone asked me any questions? Or are they like, oh God, make that person shut up?
We do have questions for you. Is Photo Feeler a good option for rating your photo for LinkedIn?
Yes. You can do dating photos, professional photos, and can't remember what the other one is. And you just select the category. So you just put it under business and put your job title, and people will rate the photo. So, and it's really funny. So my current photo, they said, someone said, I don't look like I'm genuinely smiling, and I was. So that was quite worrying.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, it's quite. I know it's not like you can either vote on other people's photos to get yours done for free, or just pay $9. I just paid. I'm trying to think. Yes. Influential, likable, or competent. That's what the ratings are.
Are there any other similar options to Photo Feeler?
No idea. I actually don't know. Do you, Jackie?
I didn't even know about Photo Feeler.
Photo Feeler is awesome. Have you not read The Robot Proof Recruiter?
Listen, don't even get me started. I had it on my desk for days, page by page. I forgot about the Photo Feeler.
It's really mine is always within reach. I forget what I put in there, and I'm like, oh, hang on, what was I talking to Jackie about? No, it was something, and I'm like pulling it out.
Mine's
like
in reach too. I was too embarrassed to go in. Oh, look, we have friends.
Hey, friends,
By the way,
how you doing?
For everyone that's here, the reason I do plug this so much is one, the royalties go to Hope for Justice charity.
Yeah, it's a great book.
The royalties go to this incredible charity that aims to end modern day slavery. Plus, like these guys, like in the book, there are 74 of you in the book. It's not just me. It's a community effort. It's a great book. Love it. Happy. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. Is that me done? That was the fastest 5 minutes in history.
Well, thank you, Katrina. I appreciate you so much.
I'll hang around in case there are questions at the end.
Perfect. Yes. Hello. So I am glad you're here, Vanessa. I was going to share my screen so people can see and find out more about you, my friend.
Good, and good to see you again, my friend Jackie. I hope that your year started with a bang and you've been really successful so far. I'm sure you have.
Well, the funny part is the last time I talked to Vanessa, she was on a mountain in the middle of vacation. That was just amazing. So I'm glad you're home and safe, and I'm glad that you're here to help us recap 12 days. So
awesome.
That being said, I didn't know if you had a slide that you wanted to share, but just to kind of go over some of the things that you were shared with us in 12 days, give us a little bit more insight.
Sure, I do have something I'd like to share with you. So let me just show my screen quickly. There we go. So just to chat about over here, what I spoke about with Recruiting Daily, and I must admit, Christmas seems like a while ago now, doesn't it? I mean, it seems like it was so long ago, but I did take a month's leave, which probably contributes a bit to that. So we actually spoke about two things, because if I scroll through the site, I spoke about this awesome new site that I'm loving and I'm finding loads of tech talent on, which I'm going to talk to you about. But also, Jackie, I don't know if you remember our chat over here, it was all about grad recruitment, and I was actually sitting in South Africa here with a power failure at the time. So it's a very interesting chat. I actually watched it this afternoon and thoroughly enjoyed it again. So without any further ado, what I want to show you here is Dev Community. And what this is, it's a great place for you to be able to find tech talent. So Jackie, I seem to have lost my camera. Can you still see me?
Yes, we can still see you.
Okay. Fantastic, as long as I still look good. So
Gorgeous.
what this is, it's actually quite interesting because we know that there's so much tech talent that's leaving LinkedIn these days, and they're going to the sites like GitHub and Stack Overflow and all of those sites. But Dev is actually very similar to LinkedIn. So what people are doing here is they're trying to encourage people to blog, to be thought leaders, to write articles, to get to know each other better. And it really is a wonderful site. So I encourage you to go sign up, join the site, and it's super easy to search on. So I'm going to do one of our local searches, and let's just say we're looking for Java and we're looking for Johannesburg. The site doesn't understand Boolean, but what you can see, what pops up over here is if you have a look at posts, you'll see people introducing themselves. Hi, my name's Vincent, I live in Johannesburg, these are my coding languages, etc., etc. So what's really nice about this is that when people sign up, they sign what's called a welcome thread, where they introduce themselves and they explain what they do and where their speciality lies, what languages they code in, and all of those things. You can also search under podcasts. Not surprised we don't have too many in Johannesburg. You can search under people. I don't find it's always the best way to search under people by doing a native search on the platform. But what I do want to do is I want to show you some of these people's profiles quickly before we move away. So if we have a look over here, what it does is it gives me great links to where the person has another presence on the net. So here we go. I've got his Twitter, I've got his GitHub, I've got LinkedIn, a little bit of information, how long he's been on the site, what he's talking about, what he's learning, what skills he has. So really like an awesome repository of information. But again, us as sources, we always want to be isolating people's sites. So I just want to highlight this bottom block on the left-hand side here, where it talks about posts published, comments written, tags followed, all of those kind of things. Because how I suggest you actually search for people on the site is to go to Google and actually run an X-ray search. So Google or Bing or whatever your preference might be. So let's just say I'm going to run the same search. And this time I'm going to put in posts published, just to isolate those profiles. And if you have a look over here, we're coming up with profiles of people based in South Africa that have got the coding skills that we are looking for. So Jackie, all good? Did you get that?
I got it. I love it. This is so interesting. I mean, it's one of the newer sites. I mean, in trying to get used to it. I mean, we're always trying to find tech. I mean, what other things can we find? Is it just all the skill sets, or is there one in particular? It looks like there's some tags over there on the side.
So absolutely, there's tags. I mean, you can go and search under tags. You can choose to follow tags, and then you get alerts about when people are posting things. I like to go and read people's blogs because, I mean, I always find as a tech sourcer, if I can talk the talk, even if it's a high level discussion with people, I can, make that better connection with my candidates and my clients. There's also loads of videos that you can watch and always learn new things. I mean, I think I'm an undercover coder. It's something that I really want to learn how to do. You've also got podcasts that you can listen to, loads of them. Again, I also use these to actually recommend them to candidates. If they haven't been successful in an interview and it's because they need to update on a certain tech or whatever, I send them to the sites because I find it's a really good place to learn from. So, I mean, you can even buy cool clothes on here. I mean, look at that.
Get the
All girls like to go shopping, right? Well, there we go. And I mean, they've got I was looking from a diversity perspective, is that they actually have got a Black Lives Matter, Black people in tech month, something happening at the moment. So from a diversity perspective, I love it because that's one of my passions too. So just to wrap it up, there are so many other sites as opposed to LinkedIn, but also I'm going to go so far as to say is, as tech sources, we've spent a lot of time, digging around in the GitHubs and the Stack Overflows and the Kaggles, but there's new sites that are coming out now and some really, really awesome sites that I encourage you to be looking at and be sourcing on. So
this is really user-friendly too.
Oh, it's so easy. It really is such a wonderful site and something that, someone like myself, like non-techie, can really understand. And then the other thing which we spoke about on our deck the halls over here was our conversation around grad recruitment, which was all around, finding the right talent and all of those things, something that I'm really passionate about. And what I find is, talking mixing the grad talent with dev is that, you know, often the graduates are the early adopters of sites like this. So you're also going to get your professionals who want to stand out, you want to be first on the platform, make a name for themselves, and you're also going to get lots of grads who are the early adopters. So it's kind of like a win-win situation all around.
Well, Vanessa, it looks like we have some question. This one is from Srinivasa Raju. Thank you so much, Srinivasa, for being here. And the question is, would you recommend doing a Google domain Boolean or search from the dev.to search itself?
So you know, either. I try both. I'm one of those people that once I find a site that I like, I want to explore it. I want to go through it. So definitely, if you're looking for people in particular, go and do the X-ray from Google or from Bing or whatever is your preferred search engine, or multiple searches via Bing, as we just learned. But also have a look from the platform itself, because there's so many other bits of information you're going to pick up from, especially that welcome thread. I've picked up a lot of candidates from that welcome thread alone.
Perfect. And then we have another question. This one is from Shahar Asher that asked, what countries can you use this site in dev.to?
Okay, so good question. I've used it across the US, obviously South Africa, where my home is, Kenya, Tanzania, and definitely in the UK, European countries, and Australia. And that's pretty much where I've been using Dev in the last, should I say, 2 or 3 months, my main sourcing hubs, bearing in mind that a month of that was spent up a mountain.
Awesome. Well, I think that is all the questions that we have. Please stick around because we're going to have questions again at the end. But I appreciate you so much.
Jackie, so good to see you. We must schedule a call soon. I miss your face.
I know, for sure, for sure. And that being said, I think we have Ashley has another poll to run. Do you?
We do. I was just going to interrupt you. So let me launch that here.
I feel like a pro. Like I should be a game show host.
You should
Maybe
be.
not.
Yeah, you definitely went into the wrong career. You should be a game show host. No, but then we wouldn't have you here. So which element of sourcing do you find most time consuming? And you'll see your choices there.
Got it. Can everybody still see it, or where did it go? Let's make sure.
It will be up for about 30 more seconds.
Perfect. And then next, and make sure you can still answer that. It's going to be there for 30 seconds. But now we're going to add Jonathan Kidder. There's Jonathan Kidder. How are you doing today, Jonathan?
I'm doing great. I can't see my video on here, so hopefully everyone can see me.
Oh, let me make sure.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. I'm back.
Yes, we're back.
Oh, here we go. We got the survey results here too.
Yes, just sharing for a second so everyone can see where they are. Okay, and now I'm going quiet.
Awesome.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Yes, we can see you now. I appreciate you being here. And now it's time to go over your awesomeness, Brainiac information that you shared in 12 days. And I wasn't sure, did you have a slide that you wanted to share with us as well?
I did. Can I share my screen too?
Absolutely.
And Jackie, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yes.
All right. Can everyone see my screen here?
We can.
Okay, perfect. So for my kind of hack sourcing kind of examples, we're really focused on diversity sourcing. So I've got a really awesome list on my own website that really focuses on diversity Boolean strings. So during this time, it's really vital to, especially in North America, to find really good talent too. So just giving really core examples, how to image search, how to do pronoun search, fraternity searches. Make sure to keep it under 32 keywords within Amazon or within Google. My apologies. I'm always Amazon's on my mind all the time, but make sure to keep it under 32 words within kind of a core of your Boolean string too. You can expand it when you are doing LinkedIn Recruiter too. And that's always kind of a core thing too. So I've given different examples with organizations, female tech talent, Hispanic Latin American X, so many different examples too as well. So it's kind of overwhelming.
We're not seeing your desktop.
Oh, you can't see it. So show screen.
It's a very tidy desktop.
Oh, can you see, is it just this one then? Can you see this one? Here we go.
Yes, now we have it.
Okay, so I'll share this link after my presentation too as well. So good. Okay, you got that. Good. So that was kind of the core of what I presented on. There is another really cool tool that's pretty new called Native Current, and it focuses on diversity sourcing. So it's free under 500 job posts. So give or take. So, but basically, you would log in, create an account with Native Current, and you would create a new job and create kind of a new strategy. So who do you want to target in your diversity sourcing session? So if it's Hispanic, Latin American, African American, LGBTQ, so many other ones. And the list goes on. So they've really broken down different association groups, different websites, and either you could choose this right away, you could go right to Google and create kind of a Boolean string with this app, or you could download the extension and do it on other websites. So let's say you want to do a search on LinkedIn Recruiter, and let's say you're looking for full stack developers. This little button would pop up and it would give you different suggestions too. So do I want to focus on Hispanic, Black universities, and so forth? You could choose up to 5 to 25, and then it goes right in your search. So right, boom, right away, it gives you kind of the basics of those strings within your search. So it's kind of a cool tool. It's free to use, but if you're really focusing on diversity and you've got tons of different strings and you don't know where to begin, definitely would recommend checking out Native Current too. So, and there's so many different examples too. So you would go right to that green dot, it would pop up, make sure it's enabled too as well, and do women's rights organizations, so many types of different areas to kind of focus on too. So Asia Pacific, give you the top 5 organizations to kind of search for within kind of your search too as well. It also works directly on Google too. So first you would have to do kind of a title, and I'm always full stack is always on my mind, especially too. So you would click that button, and then it would give you different search terms to kind of give me kind of the top 5 in relation to kind of what I was searching for too on LinkedIn or on Google too. So it's a great tool. It's free to use. Definitely recommend it too. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I just did a review of this tool too. So pretty in depth too. So, and then on top of that, my other example was focus on Amazon reviews. So let's say you're really focusing on a niche search and you just can't find anyone who specializes in that search. A lot of people within the industry, buy books and they buy them on Amazon too. So you could do kind of a search for different areas. So I'm always focusing on Java roles too, and you could find, okay, here's the top reviews for this core book. Here's the examples, and you could do just a quick search, find that person on Google directly, and with Seek Out, I could kind of expand that search, get their email address, get their cell phone number, and reach out to them directly too as well. So that's what I really like about Seek Out, is it expands your search on Google too. And I've got a couple different examples of how to email them too, like, hey, I was really impressed by your review on this topic, and I'm really looking for this niche skill. What's a good time to kind of connect over the phone too as well. So great examples, search for like a nurse, search based on relevance, and then just doing a basic search, you can see you get their first and last name. And also sometimes they include their email address right in the review too. So right there, you see that, which is pretty awesome too as well. And then going back to diversity, I am releasing a book about diversity Boolean strings. So I'll be releasing that book around April too. So I've been really focusing on that for one of my goals too this year, focusing on tools and also Boolean strings. So you can pre-register, pre-order the book right here as well too. If you want to really get into diversity sourcing, different strings, how to x-ray different websites, there's just so much out there and it's pretty overwhelming too. So, and then on top of that, about a week ago, I did release my second book called Top Talent Sourcing Tools for Beginners, and it really focuses on the top 50 to 60 talent sourcing tools within our industry based on different categories too as well. So definitely take a look at that book. It's around 200 pages, and it's great. So yeah, that's
I
kind of.
love that, Jonathan. I am so glad that you wrote those books, and and thank you for the shameless plug for Seek Out. That it wasn't even on,
Up,
like,
boom.
my whole family
There you go.
appreciates that you like Seek Out.
I
Uh,
do. I love it. It's
I
my
will
favorite.
say, and I have to give you a shameless plug. You will always be my talent wizard. In putting those things together, Jonathan, and just like everyone here, is really, really helpful. This is a labor of love of people trying to share the information for you to get better. And you've been writing so much over the year. Thank you for putting it in one place.
Yes.
Now,
Lots of
there
free time too with COVID and everything else, and I've been blogging and just it's turned into kind of a hobby at night for me too. So I'm like, I've
You
got
make
so
me
much
feel
free
like a
time.
loser. It's like I did a podcast, I did all these things. Now everybody's writing these freaking books. Ay, ay, ay. Well, I did want to start. We do have a question. Someone said, oh, someone was asking about would capture and share. Linda McNeil was talking about, hello, are you posting here for the audience? I think you mentioned that you would capture and share. Or is that something that you were going to be sharing that information? I wasn't sure if you were going to capture and share. I'm gonna say no, Linda. We'll figure it out. We'll get
We'll
you the
share too.
information.
Take a look at my website too, and you just search diversity within my site too as well with different examples. Or I really covered native current. That's kind of a core one that I talked over to, and gave different examples of how to use the tool too. So it is quite overwhelming too, but there's just so many different areas that you can focus on within this tool. There's a library of diverse Boolean strings, and again, it's free too. So definitely take a look at that. You can search directly on Google or directly on LinkedIn too, within LinkedIn Recruiter, and save all your strings, focusing on all the terms or just 5 or 25 within each area too as well. So it's overwhelming, but it's just a lot of great information too, especially if you're really focusing on sourcing diverse talent this year too as well.
Perfect. And thank you, Linda McNeil, for the question. Marianne Ford is here, and she asked, is this a Chrome extension? Now, she had a call come through in the middle of it, and I think you named a couple of Chrome extensions, but Native Current, is it a Chrome extension?
It is. It's a Chrome extension too. So just native current, it would pop up, and it would go over kind of examples here. It takes a while to kind of get used to. It's a little wonky, I guess is kind of the correct term. But once you download it, it pops up on your screen, and then you would enable it to search whatever site that you want to search on, and then you could go directly to the dashboard too as well within the tool. So it is a Chrome extension.
Perfect. Thank you, Marianne Ford, for being here. David Mars said, don't forget to mention the Wizard Wand Chrome extensions.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
created my own extension
that.
too,
Yeah.
and we're doing really good with it. I created that with a developer during COVID, during the peak of COVID. I'm like, oh my gosh, it like dawned on me, why don't I create my own extension that auto populates someone's LinkedIn profile information too? So with this extension, we've got around 500 active users, so woo-woo! It's free, and you would download it in the store, and then on a public LinkedIn profile, it's going to scrape their information too as well. So their first name, company name, skill sets, and then you choose the template, and then you auto-populate that information too as well. And make sure to focus on quality. I always say that too, so you could customize these templates, but basically you would go to someone's profile, and then see if it even loads now too, but you would just scrape that information right away. You would click LinkedIn data, and then it pulls in all that information. Sometimes it scrapes it incorrectly, so you just copy what you want to replace. You just copy select, and then choose a template. We've got about 25 templates,
Yes.
and then it just auto-populates all that information too as well. And then you can just copy it right into an email format or InMail. And yeah, it's a great free tool. Just for me, I do lots of following up on candidates too. So I just love to use this tool to kind of follow up with candidates and just say, hey, first name, last name, want to connect with you again. How's everything going? And within 30 seconds, you've got an email or InMail, and they're responding pretty quickly too. So yeah, it's a great tool.
I love that. And I love that you're so humble that you didn't even mention your own tool. That's funny.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
Thanks, everybody.
well, in the effort of time, I know Jonathan's going to stick around because we're going to have an open forum questions here at the end. But now we're going to move on to our next speaker. So thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate you so much. And what I'm going to do is, let me make sure that I'm over here that you can see me. Hi. And so now we have Katie. Uh-oh, I think Jonathan needs to stop sharing his screen. Maybe we can do the sharing of the screen. I think I could take it back. Hi, how are you doing?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So I want to move this over so people can see and learn more about you. We've answered our questions. Rachel Couples, me and Rachel, I'm so glad that we got a chance to meet this year via Twitter.
Yes.
Rachel is a true gem. That being said, I know we kind of just talked about, we would just kind of talk a little bit more, but I want you to be able to share your screen as well, because you shared some really important information. We know 2020 has been crazy. A lot of people have been finding themselves looking for work. So take it away, Rachel.
All right. Well, let's see if I can make this work here.
Yeah, I know, tech. Perfect.
Can you see this photo here?
Yes, we can't see all of it, and maybe you need to
get
a little bit
here. I apologize. All right.
Perfect.
So there's a whole article where I broke down the 9 stages of job seeking during a pandemic. For those of you that don't know, I was a job seeking recruiter through summer, fall, winter. And I had the opportunity to, through Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, meet so many amazing HR and recruitment professionals. And there was a consensus, I guess, that had me start thinking about sort of the stages of grief as I was speaking to unemployed HR and recruitment folks across the United States. And then it trickled into speaking to other job seekers outside of our industry. And I found that we all were going through the same phases. Not quite the 4 or 5 stages of grief, but there's a few more. And if you know me, you know I'm a little sarcastic, so I had to put my own little spin on these. But I took the time to break down what I believe is every stage of a job seeker's journey during a pandemic and a recession. And I hope you have an opportunity to take a look if you haven't and read it. The purpose of sharing it was, I know for myself, I pride myself in being obsessed with candidate experience. And even I learned a lot during this time. Not only was it humbling, job searching, and has it been humbling, but so many reminders of why it is so important. The words we say matter. I actually just published a new blog post yesterday. It's called Words Matter, Things Recruiters and Hiring Managers Should Not Be Saying in Interviews to Job Seekers. You can find that on recruitingshero.com. But really, at the end of the day, I know how hard this has been for everyone, whether you're an employed or unemployed recruiter, HR pro. It's been tough. Many recruiters saw their teams dwindle to half, a quarter of the size. Some recruiters are the last one standing. And I realize how hard it is to be in that spot. But I was hoping that the 9 stages of job seeking during a pandemic would help us all just remember, show a little grace and empathy to job seekers and to those of us that are job seeking within our own HR recruitment community. And then with the blog post, as I mentioned, that I posted last night, to share some of the things that are going wrong, not to shame our community, but some of us might be getting a little burnt out, and how can we all work together to either provide more training or more support to help one another be better. Because I mean, if recruiter Twitter or HR community on Twitter, all the people that I've met in the last few years is any indication of what our community is like globally, there's so many amazing people out there. I think we just need to support one another. So I don't know, Jackie, I feel like I'm rambling.
I appreciate that so much. I think it's really important. I mean, you never know where you're there when you're there. And I will tell you, your Twitter handle is Shiro, right?
Recruiting Shiro, yes.
Recruiting Shiro. Connect with Rachel on Twitter, because I am telling you, she shares so much, and everybody is sharing, and she's funny too, and sharing those stories.
Oh.
But I think this article is important because it also helps us understand, not just like, it helps us from a recruiting standpoint to remember what people are going through. I think it's imperative that we not forget about the candidate experience. And I think it was very transparent, and I know that it was humbling to write the article to share those things. So I appreciate you guys being so transparent. There was a question from Lori Miller. Thank you so much for being here, Lori. And Lori asked, what is your blog called again?
Oh, so you can find me at Recruiting Shiro. So it's recruiting, SHERO.com. So find everything about me there along with my blog.
Well, not everything. You keep some things to yourself.
They make me, but professionally.
Well, thank you, Rachel. Stay put because people are going to still have additional questions. Thank you guys for being here. And I'm going to kick it over to Ashley. I think she has a question, another poll for us as we start narrowing things down. Yes, so it says, what area of your sourcing process do you believe could be better streamlined using technology? That's a good question. I like it. And I know it's usually, we're going to be putting it up there for about, 30 more seconds?
Yes, we'll run for about 30 seconds.
Perfect. And we can get those answers. I know we've been tracking this. A lot of us, especially those that have been sharing today, we've all been here since Web 2.0 when we got started. It's amazing how far we've come. But there are definitely some processes that still can be streamlined better utilizing technology. So it'll be interesting to see the results of this poll. And thank you guys so much for answering the poll and being with us today. Oh, candidate screening. Ooh, streamlined. I agree. There are some ways that can be in there. Well, thank you for taking the time to filling out that poll. That being said, I am here today now with one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, Glenn. How are you doing?
All right. Hey, Jackie.
Hi, I'm so glad you're here. I've known Glenn for several years, and we're glad to have you here. I want to give you the opportunity as well to share a little bit more. I'll back up so that you can share a little bit more about the things that you shared during 12 days.
Yeah, and like Jonathan, I'm going to have to do a share my screen situation. Maybe you can remind me where that
I will make sure that it changes.
Here we go.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. So if you've seen my article, and if you haven't, you should, because it's got a lot more detail than I'm going to have time to go into today. So I'll probably end up kind of skipping some steps just to get you focused on the most important parts, and the rest I think you'll be able to fill in the blanks when you read the article. The idea here is that there are so many things that you do on the web that have kind of a manual feel to them, like going to a website, pasting in search criteria, running the search, then doing the same thing on some other site and looking at those results, and then scraping all those results. And so there's a lot of things that, frankly, you can automate. And the easiest way, I think, is with bookmarklets. They're free. They're very convenient because they actually get stored on your favorites bar or bookmarks bar, whatever browser you're using. And that's the other nice thing, it's cross-browser. So it doesn't matter if you're a Safari, Opera, Chrome, Edge person, it works in all of them. And the difference between a bookmarklet and a regular bookmark is that instead of just taking you to a saved web page, it actually does something. And what's nice about a bookmarklet that does something, of course, is it's going to save you a lot of time. So let's, for example, look at something like research.ibm.com, right? Good place to find some really good technical gurus. But the names on this site obviously have changed over time. And there are many other websites that you've probably visited where maybe the data is hidden, but at some point in the past it used to be there. So wouldn't it be great to just be able to get to that data as it existed in some past point of time? So some of you may be aware there's a website for that called the Wayback Machine. But what I've done is I've made a little bookmarklet that says, take the web address that you're on and just go look for that on the Wayback Machine. So it'll save you those steps. And you can see just by selecting that bookmarklet, it's taking me right to those results from the past. And then I can decide which of these many captures that it's done in the past I want to see. And then I can go to the view of that page and all the different names that may have existed there in the past. So how do you make a bookmarklet that instantly takes you somewhere based on the web address that you're on? Well, again, that's the article that you're going to read, but I'll show you the little code behind the scenes that you will easily be able to manage and paste. So the first thing I need to do is, and by the way, all of this is done in JavaScript. And a lot of people don't realize JavaScript is kind of the native language of the web, so to speak. It was the first one that HTML could be combined with so that it's really easy to embed JavaScript with all your web pages and thus be able to do stuff. And what people don't realize is that you can even embed them in your bookmarks. So that's where the magic is happening in the examples I'll show you here. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, let's assign a variable, which I'm going to call LOC. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit here. That might help, I guess. Can I zoom in a little? No, that's made it smaller. That's not what I want. Okay, that's not working. Let's go back to where we had it. And these control panels are taking up a lot of room. Okay, so the 4 lines of code, and you'll see this when you get it. First, I'm saying assign a variable to the current web location, which is called location.href. That's standard in JavaScript. And then I'm going to need to add to that my web address that I'm trying to go to. So this may be even easier to view on the article page that we had. So if you've seen my article, then this will be easier to read when I go there. I think it's a little bit bigger here as well. Yeah, that looks a little bit bigger. So var loc is what I'm calling this variable, equals the current location. Then I'm saying I'm going to create another variable called a that will equal what any Wayback Machine web address starts with, which is web.archive.org/web, and then there's a /*/, and then I'll add to that plus LOC, meaning add the current location to that. And then I'm telling the browser, go take me to that location. So change the window location href to a, which is the variable that now combines those two things. So that now is the whole bookmark. So that code is what you would put in. The only thing I should warn you about is when you're copying from different places, be careful, because sometimes, and the Recruiting Daily article here is a good example of that, it automatically changed my straight quotes into curly quotes. You don't want that. So when you're dealing with JavaScript or any programming language, realize that those single quote marks like the apostrophe or the double quote marks, don't use the curly version. You want the straight version, and then things will work correctly. So that whole thing, that little line, and the thing that I also needed to do to make it work in my bookmarks is to turn all of that code into a single line of code. So you will need to make sure to delete any line breaks. So a lot of people, when they're creating code, will purposely make it one statement per line. And that's fine when you're creating your code, but when you're actually putting it in a bookmarklet, just delete those line breaks in between. So it just is one continuous line. And then this is what I can put into my bookmark. And again, sorry, I think this definitely could be a lot easier to read if I make it bigger. So let's go bigger. Boy, my screen is really slow today. Hang on. There we go. So again, those curly quotes, not what you want. I'm going to turn those into straight quotes. And then everything else should be just fine. So I copy that. And then back in your browser, you just need to create a new little favorite. So it doesn't really matter how you start this off. It's not going to work when you do it like this, but that's all right. All I really want to do is just add the page to favorites, and you can name the favorite whatever you want. So we'll call this way back of this page, and you can save it to whatever folder you want. And then this is where I want to make sure it's got the code correct in it. So I'm going to edit it just to make sure it's got my code. So whatever it says in the URL field, just delete everything that's in there, and your code is what goes in there. The only other thing you need to remember is because you're telling your browser it's not a regular bookmark to go to a web page, it's JavaScript. So you start with JavaScript : in front of your code. And then when you do that, then your browser knows, oh, there's JavaScript in here. That's what I'm running. So I will save it that way instead. And now let's see if our magic works. We'll go to a different web page. I don't know. We'll go to some random web page, and then I'll go into that bookmarks folder where I just saved it. I called it way back of this page, and I select it, and look at that. It's populating it in a web.archive.org search and takes me right there. So that's as simple as it can be for a pretty plain bookmark where it's just taking you to a page. The more fun ones, frankly, are the ones that have prompts. So what I mean by that is, and you'll see this a little further down the article, let's say you wanted to be able to search lots of sites at once. So you heard earlier from Vanessa that dev.to is an interesting site to find devs. She'd probably run a similar search on other sites. And then Eric Jaquith told you, well, you can go to Bing and you can put multiple searches in one query for different sites. Well, I'm going to make it even easier. I'm going to combine all those dev search sites in one bookmarklet, and it's going to open a separate tab in your browser for each result page, and you can quickly go through those results and see which ones you like based on whatever it is you're searching for. So what I'm going to need to make that happen is a prompt. So I know we're going to be lacking time here, so I'll do this kind of fast, but the variable t is going to equal a prompt, and anything you put inside a prompt means show this on the screen, and then the user has a chance to enter something. So we're gonna prompt them to enter someone's name, or maybe it's a user handle, and then it's going to run the search on lots of these dev sites. And the way that I do that is I put all of these dev sites one after another in a window open command, where it's saying, go open this in a new window. And I just need to know what the web address is to run a search on a given site. And then I've got a little plus T in the middle to remind me that, hey, whatever they entered in the prompt, the variable T, stick that in the middle of this URL and then run the search. And I need to do that, this set of code here, several times, because I'm going to have it generate a different window for each of the sites that I want it to search with that search string populated. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called a timeout function, meaning that I wanted to delay opening each tab slightly after each one has opened, but in milliseconds. I'm talking maybe 30 milliseconds between each tab, because sometimes it doesn't work when you try to open all the tabs at once. So when I have all of that code together, it looks like what you see in the article, and I'm going to do it right here so you can see it a little bit bigger in this view. So there's lots of different tabs that are being generated here with this code, each one opening up slightly after the previous one. That's what that 80 milliseconds is for, then 110 milliseconds. And you can change the sites easily. You don't even necessarily have to understand all the code. You'll just see wherever there's a web address in the middle. So this is a Google search against Hacker Noon. And you'll notice that, like what Google does when you run searches, it turns your slashes into the ASCII character equivalents. So don't freak out when you see something like %2F. You're just copying it from the way Google generates its search result and paste it in here, and it'll know that that %2F is just a slash. So I got all of those, and again, remember, when you create your search, you're going to have to put it into a single line. So all of these lines of code with line breaks, that I got to get rid of, and I need to put it as one continuous line. So I get rid of all my line breaks. And if you don't want to have to do that manually, the good news is that you can take your longer code and you can put this in a tool. I use something called Mr. Coles. There are a lot of them out there. And mrcoles.com/bookmarklet is the web address. And what I like about this is you just paste your JavaScript in here, and you don't even need that JavaScript colon at the beginning. It will enter that for you. But here's all the rest of the code. And then I say, name this link. So I'm going to call this dev sites multi-tab, call it whatever you want. And then I want it to convert it into a bookmarklet. So I click that gray button, convert to bookmarklet. And it generates it down below as that single line thing that I need. And it's even got this nice little blue button. You can just drag this right up into your favorites or bookmarks bar, and there it is, meaning that now I can run this search. So let's pretend I did that a long time ago, and now I say, great, I'd like to find some developers. So I click on this dev sites multi-tab, and look at that. I got my little prompt coming up, and it's asking me for the username of who I'm looking for. So I don't know, I'll put myself in just for the heck of it. Now you'll notice it didn't do anything. This is going to happen to you the first time you run your bookmarklet if it's multi-tab. Mouse over the URL address bar in your browser, and you'll see it says pop-ups were blocked on this page. So you're going to need to unblock the pop-ups. So click always allow, and then hit done. And now if we run the bookmarklet, now that we've said don't block pop-ups, woo! I don't know if you're seeing all the magic here on the screen, but this opened about 8 different tabs, one after the other. And now I can quickly go through them and see which ones are interesting. So HackerRank didn't find me, no surprise. I'm not on Hashnode either. I am on Medium. See, it found me there, so I can look through those results. When I'm done, I'll close that tab. Didn't find me here. Oh, finds me on dev.to. I can go look at that. Here I am on Stack Overflow. I can go look at that. And last but not least, here I am on GitHub. So in one selecting bookmarklet, you're able to generate results from lots of different dev sites. And I wasn't limited to the 8 or so that I had there. I could put more lines of code, one for each separate site, and run them all.
That is perfect. Always insightful. And I'm glad that you have that article. I had to read it a couple of times. I always have to look at it and make sure I'm doing all of the pieces. But it's so, I mean, it's key. Especially, I love that last piece with that it generates it automatically and you can just put it up there. And thank you for the tip for pop-ups, because I was the one who tried it and was like, it didn't do anything. So I appreciate you sharing that information with us. That being said, I know we're over time just a little bit, but I do want to be able to put some time, some questions in the chat. Srini asked, is there a way to integrate 2 to 3 bookmarklets to work in tandem together?
Right, so you'd like the output of one to feed another. Unfortunately, that's going to violate something called CORS rules. You're not supposed to do cross-site scripting, so you can't really take one thing and plop it into another. The way you would solve that issue is to create a custom Chrome extension. So if you know enough to create 3 bookmarklets that you want to string together, it's not that big a leap from there to just save that JavaScript code as a Chrome extension and upload it that way. And it doesn't have to be an official one in the Chrome store. You can do what's called a side-loaded Chrome extension, and then you can just feed it to your friends to add to their browser, separate from the Google system.
All right, keep putting those questions there in the chat box, and I'm going to ask everybody to come back so that we can see about any additional questions that we have. So if we can get everybody in there sharing their screen so that we can see if there is any additional questions. Thank you. Everybody's been here. I know there's been a lot of information. A couple of our friends, and Eric, you can hop on there too. A couple of our friends, because we do have people all over the world, did have to drop off. But I did want to see if there were any additional questions. I know they did have a question for you, Rachel, from earlier. And that question was, this was from Steve Jewell. Thanks for being here, Steve. And Steve asked, in your own search, where did you find encouragement as you were doing your job search?
I found encouragement through peers. So I don't, of the 100 or I don't know how many people are on this webinar right now, but I'm sure it was through many of you. I'm staring at Jackie Clayton right now, but she may have heard me cry and be excited, and who knows what else. But through other recruitment and HR professionals, the other place that I found it was just through, I had many positive, wonderful experiences that I will be blogging about those as well, going through the interview process. But it's community. #recruiter Twitter was pivotal for me in 2020.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I think you've heard me cry this year too. Jonathan, there was a question from you from Susan Wendelkin, and I hope she's still here. I know that people did have to drop off. We are a little bit over, but they wanted to ask about the accuracy when it comes to Recruiter Wand versus Zoom Info. Recruiter Wand knows everything, hands down, right?
Zoom Info knows so much too, and that's kind of a people search engine basically. So it scrapes information online and it buys it from a variety of different resources online too. So Zoom Info, People Pro, Spokio, People Search, those are all kind of the same in a sense. And Recruiter Wand is more about just creating different recruiter templates too. So you could use Zoom Info to get someone's email, or Seek Out, which is my favorite as well, to get someone's email, and then use this tool to then copy and paste that same recruiter template message to them directly. So, but great question.
Perfect. And David Marr is here, and David Marr wanted to give a shout out with there's a Facebook group or a website, Recruiters Helping Recruiters, that's there to help people. So if you are one of those recruiters that have been affected by COVID and had been laid off, please share that information. I love following Glenn on Facebook. Glenn recaps. He's my he's my note taker. I am neurodiverse. I do have ADHD, and if it wasn't for Glenn, I don't know if I'd had any of those recaps, half of them that we would get. Someone else asked a question. It was Dave Mendoza. Besides asking where you got your genius from, also asked what bookmarklets or extensions are available to be shared, and where did they acquire them?
Oh, I think there are tons of them online. You could literally just search for recruiting bookmarklet or Sourcer bookmarklet, and you probably find a bunch. I do have quite a few on my website. I guess we can add that URL to what's going out to everybody later.
Yes, we can make sure that we have that and that everybody has all of those things. And we had another question. Of course, you can still add those. We'll make sure that they're there. But someone else asked, it was Jonathan Justin asked, where can we get access to this webinar and previous webinars? I'd love to listen more during the day while sourcing. And you will get this information within the next 5 business days. It will be sent over to you. So please stay tuned for that. That being said, thank you guys for attending. We want to thank everybody who shared information today. And of course, we want to share those that were with us, Srini and Susan and Jonathan and Steve and Dave and et cetera, all of you. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you and appreciate your questions. And thank you for joining 12 Days. And we'll see you next year, if not sooner. So thank you. Bye, guys.
Whoa.
Whoop, whoop.